Welcome. Today, we are mapping the Food Safety and Standards Act of 2006, a framework consisting of 12 chapters and 101 sections. Rote memorization for a dense legal exam often fails as the volume of data increases. Using specific mnemonic associations allows you to organize these sections into a retrieval system that remains consistent under pressure. Consider this sentence: prepare food guide and give it some extra attention or always face misery. The initial letter of each word corresponds to the 12 chapters of the Act. In the first half, P stands for preliminary, S is the food authority, G represents general principles, followed by the second G for general provisions, I indicates imports, and S covers special responsibilities. For the second half, E is for enforcement, A for analysis, O covers offenses, A assigns adjudication, F outlines finance, and M holds the miscellaneous provisions. This mnemonic provides the structural framework for the Act, providing a reference point for the specific penalties and definitions that follow. We begin with Chapter 1, the Preliminary Rules. Section 1 applies the Act to the entirety of India, while Section 2 establishes union control over the food industry in the interest of the public. This diagram maps the definitions in Section 3, using alphabetical associations. 3A assigns A to adulterant. 3J use of J for jam and juice to define food. 3N links N to network, meaning the food business operator. 3ZF uses F for fake, indicating misbranded goods. And 3ZZ uses Z for zehar, the Hindi word for poison, to define unsafe food. Chapter 2 establishes the Food Authority, the FSSAI. Sections 4 and 5 dictate its composition: 1 chairperson and 22 members. Within that group, at least 1/3 must be women. Section 6 details the selection committee led by the cabinet secretary, while Section 7 sets the 36265 rule, a 3-year term limit, a maximum age of 62 for members, and a maximum age of 65 for the chairperson. The remainder of Chapter 2 outlines operational bodies. Sections 9 and 10 define the CEO's duties. Sections 11 and 12 establish the Central Advisory Committee, and Sections 13 and 14 create the scientific panels and committees. Chapter 3 handles general principles under Section 18. You can associate this with the age of 18, when an individual reaches legal maturity and must follow specific principles. Section 18, subsection 3 is a frequent exam focus. It stipulates that farmers and fishermen are exempted from this act at the primary level. These opening chapters define the subject of the law and the governing bodies, while excluding the raw producers at the start of the supply chain. Chapter 4 covers general provisions. Sections 19 through 21 set statutory limits on food additives, heavy metals, pesticides, and antibiotics. Sections 22 through 24 regulate external standards. They dictate packaging and labeling requirements and prohibit misleading advertisements for special foods, including genetically modified and organic products. Chapter 5 governs imports. Section 25 requires all imports to meet FSSAI standards, holding overriding authority over the 1992 Foreign Trade Act. To remember Chapter 5, look at this pie chart. Exactly 1/4, or 25%, of the food supply is imported, linking the concept of imports to Section 25. Chapter 6 dictates special responsibilities. Section 26 establishes the duties of the food business operator. Section 27 assigns legal liability across the supply chain, and Section 28 outlines the mandatory food recall processes. These specific chapters establish the chemical and operational standards required for food to circulate legally within the country. Chapter 7 details enforcement. The hierarchy begins with the state commissioner, followed by the district designated officer and the ground-level food safety officer. Section 31 defines entry requirements. Small hawkers require registration. Other commercial businesses need a formal license. Sections 32 through 35 dictate procedural actions. An improvement notice provides a 14-day window for compliance. Violating an emergency ban carries a 2-year jail term and a 2 lakh rupee fine. Additionally, businesses are required to report instances of food poisoning. Sections 37 and 38 outline FSO powers, but Section 39 creates accountability. An FSO can be fined 1 lakh rupees for false harassment. Section 40 enables consumers to have food tested independently. Chapter 8 governs analysis. Sections 43 through 46 handle lab accreditation and require the food analyst to submit findings within 14 days. This speaker graphic illustrates Section 47. It shows the procedural mandate that any collected sample must be divided into exactly 4 parts for testing. Enforcement is structured with procedural checks that address both business violations and the potential for overreach by officials. Chapter 9 lists offenses. The 5-3-1-10 rule: 5 lakh for substandard, 3 for misbranded, 10 for misleading ads. Fines continue: 1 lakh for hygiene failures, 2 for noncompliance, up to 10 for adulteration. Section 59 scales unsafe food penalties. No injury results in 6 months jail and 1 lakh. Non-grievous injury leads to 1 year and 3 lakh. Grievous injury results in 6 years and 5 lakh. Cases involving death carry life imprisonment and a 10 lakh fine. Sections 63 through 65 state that operating without a license can lead to 6 months in jail, while Section 65 ensures a minimum 5 lakh compensation for a victim's family in cases of death. Chapter 10 dictates adjudication. Section 68 requires adjudicating officers to hold at least an ADM rank, while Section 69 allows minor offenses to be compounded up to 1 lakh rupees. Sections 70 through 77 establish tribunals and special courts. Appeals to the High Court must be made within 60 days, and the statutory limit to file a prosecution is set at 1 year. Section 80 establishes that ignorance of the law is not a valid defense, though proving due diligence can serve as a legitimate legal shield. The financial and criminal penalties increase with the level of risk to the public, requiring businesses to maintain verifiable records of compliance. Chapter 11 governs finance. Sections 81 through 84 mandate that the Comptroller and Auditor General, the CAG, audits all authority accounts. Chapter 12 contains miscellaneous rules. Sections 85 through 87 clarify that FSSAI officers are public servants under IPC Section 21. Sections 89 and 97 give the Act overriding effect. It repeals 8 existing frameworks, including the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act of 1954. These provisions replace the fragmented historical legal landscape with a unified regulatory code. Numeric limits are frequently tested in competitive exams. We will now summarize the legal timelines found throughout the Act. The timeline begins with short-term windows: 5 days to provide a lab report for imported food, and 7 days to appeal a rejected ban lift or report a broken sample seal. 14 days is the limit for compliance with an improvement notice and for a food analyst to submit a report. 30 days is the window for paying interim relief to a victim's family. For longer terms, you have 60 days for a High Court appeal. If a license application receives no response for 2 months, the business may begin operations. Finally, 1 year is the statutory limit to file a prosecution. Using these chapter associations and numerical summaries will help organize the legal framework for the exam. આ વિડિયોમાંથી જો તમને નવું શીખવા મળ્યું હોય તો ચેનલને સબસ્ક્રાઇબ કરો, વિડિયો લાઇક કરો અને તમારા મિત્રો સાથે શેર કરો, જેથી આવનારા તમામ વિડિયો તમારા સુધી પહોંચી શકે. Mastery of these subjects comes from identifying the underlying data structures within the law. Good luck!